sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. My name is Virginia Jones. I'm a stand-up comedian, but my sister's a therapist.
Hello, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. My sister Virginia is a stand-up comic.
We're actually each other's sisters, so we have a lot in common.
Specifically DNA related.
DNA, trauma history, shoe size.
Shoe size, correct. Yep. Physical body type.
Physical appearance.
Mm-hmm. We have the same voices. That's what we've been told.
That's what we've been learning from the podcast, is that we have the same voice and no one can tell. We also suffer from something called chronic Irishness.
Are prone to depression. Tendency to have burned skin.
Yeah, tendency towards burned skin, dark hair.
Alcoholism in your family.
Mm-hmm. A mysterious love for potatoes.
And the Pogues, R.I.P.
Rest in power, Shane McGowan. Buddy, you lasted longer than anybody thought you would.
I probably 25 years. I couldn't believe he was still alive.
The fact that he outlived Kirsty McCall by 25 years.
That's insane.
It's brutal. This week, it is my topic, and it's kind of a mind meld because this week I want to talk about Imago therapy.
Oh, okay. That's easy. I've prepped for this one.
So I want to talk a little bit about what I thought about it and what I discovered it was, because I do think it's very interesting and a very interesting way to deal with relationships and solve problems in relationships. So my sister is a licensed Imago therapist. And when I was having relationship troubles, she would frequently recommend to me to do this kind of therapy, but I didn't really know what it was. I was thinking about the Jungian, Carl Jung said Imago before he was saying archetype, and then Joseph Campbell has his archetypes. And so I'm like, okay, one of us is the everyman and one of us is the shapeshifter. One's the trickster. I didn't kind of know.
The fun of it is you could have just literally asked me. I would have told you.
I don't know why I didn't. I was like, I didn't figure it out. So my first idea of it was more like Myers-Briggs. You're going to be sorted into, you're this type of personality, your partner's this type. And you that's why on Tuesdays, you got to go fight in the octagon.
Okay. I didn't think anything. My friend Michelle said, wow, you seem to be having a lot of marital problems. You should go see Charlie Love. She's an amazing therapist. So I did. And it turns out that, like me now, Charlie Love at the time was an IRT, which is an Imago Relationship Therapist. It is a certification, not a license. So she was a certified Imago therapist. And what I instantly felt when I saw her was, I've never felt this safe in a therapeutic environment, because, at the time, my partner and I had really drilled through quite a few therapists at that point, because he really struggled with therapy in general. And so this was the only therapy where I actually felt safe in the room with him. It was the only time that I felt like, oh, I am actually going to get space to discuss my points, and I'm going to be able to be listened to. And it was such a healing moment that, I realized as I was doing it, I really want to be one of these therapists. I want to become Charlie Love.
That's pretty cool. But you guys did a lot of stuff, and some of it was wacky. You saw a shaman.
We did everything, because at the time, and I have corrected it since then, but at the time, my theory was, if you have love with a person, if you truly love each other, then all I need to do is figure out the solve to make him the partner I need.
This is something that I've learned, is that love is not enough.
Love is very, very important, but it is one component.
Right. You can't have a good relationship without it, but it's not the only thing, And I also think this is one of my adult concepts, that love is a verb. Right. If a woman is saying to me, well, he screams at me, he chastises me, he doesn't let me do what I want, but he loves me. I'm like, what does that mean? Oh, he says he does. That actually doesn't mean anything at all.
Right. I can say anything. There's a whole movie about it. Imago means image. And really, ultimately, what it actually means is that we create an image in our minds of what the ideal partner is. And it's based on an amalgamation of our parents' best and worst qualities. And also sometimes other family members too. So you'll see sibling stuff in there too.
Yeah. So what struck me as really different about the Imago form because we had gone through a couple therapists. Our first therapist fired us because I couldn't stop crying. She said, you guys need to do some individual therapy. Our second therapist we liked, but wound up changing insurance plans. So we had to figure something else out. Next, we had a lady that I liked, but she asked the person I was in therapy with if he had ever been assessed for being on the autism spectrum. And he got so mad, he couldn't see her anymore. And then there were a couple more that were just not very good.
Which to me is evidence that there might be some truth to it.
It's an Ouroboros. It's a snake. Like, he was offended. I'm like, well, even if it's not true, there's no reason to be offended.
Right. It's a diagnosis that a lot of people have, and we just have to figure out how to cope with it.
I mean, I want to remind everybody listening that if you have been my partner, you should not listen to this podcast.
In addition, if you've been my partner, it's very likely that you have autism spectrum disorder, because that's part of my imago. I think my father had autism. And so my love image has autism in it. So I'm very drawn to men who have all the features.
And then our last therapist was an Imago therapist, and she was really fantastic. And I would recommend her to anyone. But the first thing that I found was that in this form of therapy, like every other therapist, it was like we would just come hash out arguments we'd had. And she was like, I guess we were looking for her to be the referee or to be the ruler on it, who was right and who was wrong.
Right. I
just wanted not to have the arguments.
That's not optional in life. I mean, you can't be in a relationship with anybody and not have disagreements.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I understand that being in a relationship, you're going to have conflicts, you're going to have disagreements, but it can't be every day. I need my partner to pick and choose the hill to die on, because my life was just full of hills that were just had dead people all over them.
I feel like what you're really saying is that you're not codependent enough.
I will work on it. What I think is funny about Imago is, like, I think humans think we're so smart and we're so above like family backgrounds and trauma and all this stuff. We think that our ideal partner is a list of attributes and things that they like. If I can find someone who loves Chinese food and Slipknot as much as I do, we can work it out. Interests don't have anything to do with anything. Like, interests are interesting.
I mean, interests, I think, are nice when you're having a rough patch with your partner and you can join together on something. But yeah, that is a very, I think it is definitely in the dating realm, very much overemphasized on importance.
Right. And then now no one reads your bio and people just look at your face and say, could I kiss that? And then that's it.
Would I feel comfortable standing in a public space with this body and face?
The last time I was on the apps, which has been a minute, and I hope never to return, everybody knows this, but I was surprised at how many people did not read. Like, I had at the very beginning of my thing, I am almost 6 feet tall. I am a vegan. And the 5'7" guys that invited me to meet us to go to a steakhouse was so many. I'm like, what do you mean?
Yes, I too had that problem. Like, I stated in the first line that I am a parent.
Yeah. You have a kid.
I have a kid. And then a lot of people would be very confused and upset to discover this thing that I led with was reality.
So in the Imago framework, the idea is that we seek out partners who remind us of our parents, not just because it's familiar, but because we are trying to work out the problems of our childhood.
Yes. And so one of the first exercises that I was going to say make people do, I invite people to do, is list their parents. Well, I guess depending on your family model, but mother and father, let's say, all of their mother's best and worst qualities and all of their father's best and worst qualities. And then at the end, you circle like the best and worst and find out, if your partner has those things. And the answer is yes.
Right. The answer is yeah, usually. Yeah. Despite my extremely fraught relationship with my dad, extremely mixed bag.
Yeah.
I've always been drawn to, dark-haired men who work in tech, men who, are introverted, like to a fault. And like, so the part that I just learned recently is that it's because you're trying to solve that problem. Not just that like you're used to this, but part of you is trying to resolve your childhood, like that that in the ideal scenario, a relationship is not just about living with someone, like sharing your life with someone. In the best case, it is about having a partner that you are safe to work on your stuff with, to grow as a human being.
Right. Because if you are unconsciously in a relationship, which we all are at the beginning, if we haven't done any work, then what you're ultimately trying to do is resolve all the problems that you had with your parents in this partnership.
That's an ideal thing. Like that would be so good.
It's a very big ask and also quite unfair.
Yeah, right. It's been a long time since I have thought of a partner as someone who is going to save me or fix my life or rescue me. I don't need rescuing. I am almost pathologically independent. But, so like for a long time, I'm like, your partner is just someone who's just like next to you while you do a bunch of stuff. But when you get to this true level, they are someone who can help you become a better person. That's attractive.
I think ultimately, what relationships are here for is to help us heal ourselves in this relational way. Because I remember listening to an interview with Boy George, who's someone that I always look to for relationship advice, but he had a radio show of his own. And I remember I was mopping the floor and he said, every time I'm single, I'm in therapy, I'm taking care of myself, I'm doing all the stuff. And I think, God, I finally cracked it. Like all my mental illness woes are gone. And he said, but as soon as I land in a relationship, they all come rushing back.
Wow. Because, Boy George keeps finding the same person again and again and keeps getting activated in the same way.
Right. But I also feel like in relationships is how we truly heal. It's hard to heal by yourself. You can't heal by yourself. You need other people around to help you with that.
Because I kind of in the first couple months that I was in Imago, I was kind of proselytizing, like I was a missionary. I'm because it was just so interesting to me because you're not trying to figure out who is right and who is wrong. You're trying to figure out why the conflict was important. And it focuses on positivity rather than you did this, you did that.
Yeah. And I think ultimately what you're trying to figure out is how this conflict relates back to my trauma history.
So the painting is, the name of it is The Treachery of Images, but the font on it says, Ceci n'est pas une pipe. This is not a pipe. Because it's not a pipe, Laura. It's a painting. That's
deep.
The joke.
But yes, so if let's say I was having a fight with Rene Magritte about his pipe, it's not really about the pipe. It's about the time that my dad was mean to me when I was 4 years old. And whatever feeling is coming up is reminding me of that.
And for him, it's not about the pipe. It's about the time that his mother told him he couldn't smoke and she tried to control him and he's acting out against it. So it's it happens all the time. I'd be standing in my kitchen crying. And I'm like, why am I in an argument about Ready Player One? There's no need for this. We had a little conflict between you and I because my therapist didn't do every single thing the way you do it. And I think that's just got to do with people.
Because she's doing it wrong.
Oh, right. No, I'll say that correctly. You had problems with how my therapist was working because she was wrong and you are correct.
Absolutely. And that has nothing to do with my Imago.
No, it doesn't. Something I also really liked about it is, a lot of couples therapy has an element of giving each other gifts, not gifts, but saying positive things to each other, gratitudes to try to reestablish why you're together in the first place.
Right. And I notice that a lot with couples when they come to see me. They forget that they were friends and that's why they decided to get married. No one's forcing us to do this. This was a choice we decided. We went into. It was unpaid. We just made the choice and we did it.
Right. I think that's very easy to do when you've had a lot of bad times with a person, is you just think of them as an albatross around your neck. You don't think, this is the person that I chose. How did I get here? And how do I keep winding up here again and again?
Right. And I think ultimately what the problem is that you start seeing this person as the enemy. You don't see them as a friend. And so what I try to establish, and I'm not sure what your therapist did, but what I try to establish in the first appointment is we're just talking about, remember when you really liked this person? Why'd you like them? What was fun about it? What was your favorite part about dating? And people will just start sobbing because it's been so long since they felt that connection and care. And so, it's really important to establish that we actually do like each other and we picked each other and this was a choice. We wanted to do it. And that's why we're doing it now.
Well, and why we're in this room is because one or both of us feels that thing that we started with is worth saving and trying to get back to.
Right. Return to.
So yeah, you've got the gratitude, you've got listing out the things you really liked about them or like your origin story. And then you've got the Imago framework for conflict. And what was cool about that is my understanding of it is none of it is negative. It is only positive.
Yeah, you can't when it's your turn to speak about your partner, you cannot include shame, blame, or criticism.
Right. And that kind of takes you can't have an argument really. I mean,
trust me, many of my couples have found a way.
Figured out a way. Well, okay. Our conflict he would get very into fighting with me about whether or not I was doing the Imago form correctly.
Yeah. He was weaponizing the safe conversation dialogue, which is very interesting. And I have not heard that before. You were the only person I've ever heard that with.
Yeah. So you wouldn't have a conversation about, well, you did this to me and then I did this. I did this because I was angry. You did that. You would have one conversation and say, when you did this, I felt like this, and just explain yourself and ask your partner, do you understand that? Do you understand where I'm coming from? And then they would have their turn. And then you just have two people, you don't have to determine who is right or wrong. You're just figuring out how you got to that place and what you can both understand about it.
And, as a therapist, my goal ultimately is to make sure that you see your partner's personhood, that you truly understand where they're coming from, you understand their hurt, and you're trying really, really hard to be a person that's on their team. And that's ultimately my goal at every appointment.
I have started to suspect that my therapist, what she came to want or was aiming us towards was a breakup. And that's not terrible. That's not bad. But after a couple months, she started asking us to make a list of everything we wanted in a relationship and what was a non-negotiable. And, we came up wanting
probably quite a bit.
Probably there was a lot of separation between our lists. And when you come up against a want that is not a behavior base, it's not, here's an action you can be performing, it's a personality problem, it's hard to know how to come back from that.
Well, and that's it. So I remember when my relationship dissolved, I spent a little bit of time, not very much time, but I spent a little bit of time resenting our therapist and saying, why did she think that this could work? But then when I stepped into her shoes and worked on the certification, what I discovered was, she just stuck with us because we kept having faith in ourselves. We kept saying this is what we wanted. But really what she wanted us to do was to learn from this and grow from this. And so, when I work with couples, originally, when I did couples work before I had the Imago certification, my goal was to save every relationship and make sure people stay together. But what I've realized, as this kind of unfolds and as I have, moved through my own relationship failures, that ultimately it's about learning about ourselves through this relationship and healing ourselves so that even if it doesn't work out with this person, we're going to go into our next relationship conscious and alert and paying attention and not just letting ourselves get pulled into the same dynamic over and over again. Yeah.
You and I had a conversation where you basically expressed that, it's not the therapist's job to say, you guys should stay together, you guys should split up. In my individual therapy, I expressed some things that were going on. And one day my therapist said, this is an abuse situation and you need to really look at that. And the next week I came back and I was like, well, I've been thinking a lot about it. And so you think we should break up? I just want you to recognize what's happening. I'm not saying whether you should, that's not his place, right?
Right. Because here's what happens. Here's a pro tip on that one. As a therapist, you tell somebody what to do, then they go do it the way they want it and they blame you.
Right. So what you have expressed to me is that it's not your job to save every relationship. Every relationship is not worth saving, but it is your job to help people involved decide whether that relationship is for them.
I think it's more to decide what I need to be happy and healthy and whole in my relationships, whether it's my friendships, whether it's my partnerships, whether it's my family situation. And I need to move forward with that in mind. So like you were talking about your list, I do actually have, as you know, an insane list of criteria that I need to be happy in partnership. And most of it is the exact opposite of my trauma, right? So there, you can use a list, but also you have to heal this unconscious bias internally before you move forward. Because, that's one of the things, that was another thing that kind of kept me stuck in the relationship, is I thought, if I don't figure it out with this person, and then I'm just going to find another person who's just like them, and I'm going to do this again. Right. It's kind of true, but I have actually healed quite a bit. So the relationships that followed, although they have been unsuccessful, they were all way better than that one. I took a lot of pause as I was doing the certification, because you have to, part of the certification is you basically have to do a ton of therapy in the workshops in front of all your peers, which is really upsetting. But what I came away from is that I was really, really, really crummy to my first boyfriend. And, it was a 10-year relationship. So I spent a decade just being abusive and awful. And so, the person that I have been post Imago is a way better person than I was pre.
Yeah. Well, another thing that I have come across that is only tangentially related, but I want to speak to it, is a lot of my followers are my age or like around my age. And I forget that TikTok is mostly 12-year-olds, but it is mostly 12-year-olds. And I had a kid ask me, how do you break up with someone? Like, I've never done it. I've never been in that position. And it's taken me a long time to learn how to do it like a person. Like, I think because I never thought, if a man had chosen me, I never thought I had the right to break up with them. Like, just not wanting to be in the relationship and not wanting to continue it was never enough. Like, I should have left my marriage. Nobody was happy, right? Nobody was having a good time. But I thought, well, I've committed to this and I'm just going to muscle through it and we'll figure it out. Like, so in previous relationships, I've done method 1, which is be a really crummy partner until they leave. And then that's great, because then you can cry about how they hurt you, even though you were kind of doing it on purpose.
The dissolution of your relationship is kind of your own fault.
Right. 2, I would blow it up. And it's been a long time since I've done this, but like, I would start a relationship with someone else. I would make out with someone else. I would like do a big dramatic action and say, well, it has to be over because I've done this thing. And like, I had one guy who was like, well, we can work it out. I'm like, but we can't though.
Wow. So you were being super mature in all your relationships.
Yes, for sure. And then my other thing that I like to do, and this is a big commitment. You really have to work very hard, but I have ended 2 serious multi-year relationships by moving out of state.
That requires a lot of money and time and planning.
It's expensive.
It would be easier to just say, hey, I don't think this is working.
All of these, it would have been easier to just say, hey, I don't think this is working. But I was not equipped to do that at the time.
It's almost like you came from a highly dysfunctional family that didn't equip you for any of this stuff.
Well, and then I've been terrible. Ending all relationships. And you're right. It comes from our family of origin. Like, my father couldn't just say to my mom, hey, we've done our best. It's time to go. Like, he had to blow it up with this other relationship that he was like, well, this is my real soulmate. And then that was so true that they were together for 3 years.
It was, well, if we go back to the soulmate episode, that's kind of where that came from. He had to justify, he couldn't just say, hey, I'm unhappily married and I really loathe and despise my wife, which was pretty obvious to all of us. Like, yeah, I remember watching, again, becoming a therapist is a terrible thing for your mental health, because one of the assignments that I had to do at school was to watch a home movie and analyze my parents' relationship from the movie. So I was like, oh, this will be interesting. It was not interesting. It was super upsetting. And like, I'm watching these 2 people, like, she adores him. She adores him. And she's sort of trying desperately to get any attention from him. And it was really quite painful because he was just rejecting her on every front. Like, she got him a gift that I thought was pretty cute, and he just sort of like threw it aside. And he was really focused on the technical equipment that was recorded. But yeah, my father had autism. And so, he's not connecting with his wife. He's not connecting with any of the children. He seems very irritated with all of us. And what I noticed is like, she is so desperately trying to create something out of nothing. He is not in it at all. And this was years before he left.
Right. This is when the relationship was quote unquote good. She's parading us in front of the camera, encouraging us all to do like little tricks and talents and stuff to impress this man who didn't care about any of it.
Yeah, did not want to be there at all.
I did another podcast just as a little cross-pollination. I did my friend Jackie Cation's Dork Forest podcast, and I talked about...
You mean our future guest, Jackie Cation?
Future aspirational guest, Jackie Cation. I was on her podcast talking about my obsession with the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy universe. It's a very funny episode, but where it came from was those books were something that my father was interested in and wanted to talk to me about. So I just like threw everything into that. I'm like, this is it. This is our whole personality.
You really doubled down.
Really doubled down in an amazing.
I mean,
amazing way.
I remember being a kid and watching you laugh at Firesign Theater, and I'm like, Chick, this is not funny. Why are you acting like this is funny? This is not good.
But it's something that my father shared with me that was very much of his generation and very boomer, but
very problematic as well. It's a bunch of white guys, a bunch of white guys doing impressions of
ethnicities.
Yeah.
Oh, correct. Yes. But yeah, that was how I was going to connect with this person. So I was all into whatever it is. So, well, let me ask you, do you think there's any disadvantages to Imago relationship therapy?
Whenever I have a client who is in a relationship that's kind of iffy, I encourage them strongly to go seek Imago therapy so that they can really kind of resolve, whether this relationship has a heartbeat. And unfortunately, sadly, what I have determined is at this point, I don't know about the future, but at this point, 100% of the time, the Imago therapy, because it removes all the smoke and mirrors and it just kind of leaves you with a reality of like, this is who this person is. Yeah, most of the time they end up leaving, but they leave in a place where they are informed and understand, and they have literally tried everything they could. It's not quite going to a shaman, but actually even going to a shaman was very enlightening for me, because I remember part of the, ritual is we were, laying on these tables and, you're getting into a meditative state and you're getting ready to whatever. I don't know what you're doing. I don't really remember, but I remember looking over at my then partner and he was asleep. So with the shaman, I said, okay, well, since he's sleeping, can you please tell me what is going on? And, and she gave me incredible insight too. She said, he doesn't understand who you are. He doesn't really know you. And he is not connected to his spiritual life the way that you are. Your connection scares him. So even going to a shaman, it could be it. Because I read that in a magazine. Somebody had said they'd gone to a shaman as a couple. And so, yeah, I feel like any work you do is great. But also, here's the thing that I know. We went to some very cheap therapists, and I'm not going to knock cheap therapists, but I guess I am going to knock cheap therapists because they were not good. Like They took our 2-bit terrible insurance because they weren't really qualified to do the work that they were doing. And I remember actually actively getting extremely bad advice from one particular lady. She said, oh, well, your husband wants to share your business with you, so you should just let him.
Oh, and that's right.
That was terrible advice.
Probably the worst advice anyone's ever given anyone.
It was very bad. And it really affected my business and my personal life. It was not good. So yeah, going to someone who has a certification of any kind is a good line, because that means this person is actively working to learn more about their trade and be really good at this.
Yeah. I was speaking with someone recently about just more on just because relationships ends, it's not a failure. Like the model where you're going to be with someone for the rest of your life, and people living to be 90 and being on the Golden Bachelor and screwing over nice ladies. That model is not that relevant to modern life. So I think you can have a relationship that you got good stuff out of, but when it's time to end it, it's time to end it. But what I am proud of in this last thing is that I know I tried. I didn't go to a shaman, and that's on me. But I know that I tried really hard, and I have learned a lot, and I have grown as a person, and I'm ready to never date again. Emotionally mature women who want nothing to do with the opposite sex.
Accurate. Unfortunately for me, that's the only option. You have other options, but for me, it was no stone unturned. That was kind of my perspective. I think our parents' marriage was so bad and their divorce was so ugly. Before I knew anything about marriage, had committed that when I married, I would never ever end the relationship. And that I think that was where a lot of my stuff came from.
Samesies. So that's a big mystery in relationships. How do you go from meeting someone, feeling a special connection with them, a special bond, again, probably because of your trauma, to they're your least favorite person, your not going home to avoid them. You're complaining to all your friends about them. Like, how do we wind up here again as people?
Because we're in relationships unconsciously, and we are actively, the goal that we have is that we are trying to get our partner to heal our parental problems. So I remember, like, it's like we're trying to solve a screwdriver problem with a hammer. It does not work.
Well, and it's literally daddy issues, you guys.
I mean, for me, it was both. It was mommy and daddy issues. I had it all because that's what I realized. My partner he had all my mother and father's best qualities. We laughed for days. I was, so entertained by him. I felt he was so silly in all the ways that my parents were silly. And, he joined with me in a lot of the same ways I did with my parents. But also, he was doing all the negative stuff that my parents did, like almost on overdrive. And I think that's why it was such a crazy combination. So I guess what my thought is like when you're in a relationship with someone trying to get water from somewhere where it doesn't exist, you're at the wrong well altogether.
Mm-hmm. So it's in dating. Sometimes you can have someone who checks all of your boxes, right? Like you like all the same movies, you live in the same town, you like the same kind of dogs. But then when you sit in front of them face to face, there's nothing there. And like, all of the Guardians of the Galaxy movies aren't going to fix that. Like if chemistry, but is chemistry recognizing your imago?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
That spark that you feel is a spark of familiarity because you feel, oh, wow, he or she is my family. And it feels so good. It's like the fireplace on Christmas Day. You just are drawn to it like a moth to a flame. You really can't get away from it. It feels so natural and it feels so good. And you just want more of that.
Well, and when you talk about the spark, sometimes that can also be like, I have had a friend who was so clearly picking the same partner again and again, receiving intermittent affection from them. But that's how she maintained the spark, is that he would sometimes respond to her. He sometimes wouldn't. And so she was just like a lightning rod, like just waiting to take that on. And I think that's a little bit different. I'm sure that this personality type was a lot of what she got from her dad, but she was always with someone who was going to be super inconsistent with her. That's what she was familiar with.
Right. It was the dynamic of intermittent reinforcement, which is really dangerous for humans.
Just a rat and a cocaine button. Boom, boom, boom.
Right. And I think you probably experienced this with your father specifically. I know I did. Sometimes he thought I hung the moon. I was the smartest, most interesting, funny, adorable person he'd ever met. And other times he couldn't remember my middle name and was kind of ignoring me altogether. So here's the thing. If you came from a really wonderful family where everyone really supported each other and you felt super cared for, then you're going to land in a marriage that's really, really functional and healthy. Unfortunately, for most of us, that is not the case.
Well, and it also, we talked about this a lot. That's why when you're out dating in the world, you come away with the thought of like, none of these people are functional. And the answer is no, because the functional people are in relationships.
Well, and in addition, the person that I pick is not going to be functional because I picked them.
Right.
I self-select out any healthy people who have their stuff together.
And of course, the best thing that our father ever told us was, I'm the smart one and you are the pretty one. And what's amazing about that is that it insults both people.
Yes, because one does not want to just be one of those things. One would like to be both.
Okay. Really weird, really interesting chat. I don't think I was wildly funny, but that's not always going to happen. I think it's wildly interesting. Laura, do you have any final thoughts on this topic?
I would encourage people to read the book, Getting the Love You Want by Harville Hendrix. It's a great primer for looking into relational therapy. You can also get on YouTube and look up Safe Conversation Dialogue. He's kind of expanded it to be more than just couple stuff. He's doing safe conversation dialogue in the workplace and family relationship therapy. It's really cool. But yeah, I think a lot of people are sleeping on Imago because it was a big deal in the 80s and it's kind of fallen out of favor. But I love it so much. And I cannot emphasize, every person I've ever suggested should do it also loved it. So I'm going to assume that it's a pretty wonderful, the results I get when I work with couples, it's astronomical. So please, if you are a therapist, look into Imago certification. And if you're a client, please find an IRT Imago certified relationship therapist. What are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are, for a long time, when you and I were talking about the people we would choose and how consistently they were addicts or how consistently they were emotionally immature, I felt very down about it because it feels like you can't fix it, right? Like if you're attracted to someone, they're a hot garbage.
You cannot fix it.
But in the Imago model, I kind of think that you can, because you are being much more mindful about who you are connecting with and why. I'm much more able to weed out people that, even though I'm attracted to them and find them very sexy, are not going to be good for me. I have learned, is what I'm saying. I can learn. I can be taught. Laura, where can people find you online?
They can find me at lauraryan.org. And they can also find me on my TikTok. I am Laura Ryan, or they can contact me at our website. If you want to drop us a line or ask us a question, you can go to hello@mysistersatherapist.com and write us emails. That's been kind of my thing on TikTok lately, is reading off the user emails. And Virginia, where can people find you?
And we appreciate all the feedback we get, especially when it's good. My website, my Insta, my TikTok is www.badinia.com, BADINIA. You can also Google Virginia Jones comedian, and that should also be me. If it's not me, I need to know about it. Luckily, the all-female improv troupe out of San Francisco, Vagina Jones, has dissolved permanently. But thank you for joining us. If you're enjoying the podcast, please like and subscribe. So, Laura, you have a review ready for us.
I do. For our weekly segment, Apple reviews that sometimes they're happening more regularly now. And so, P.S., if you listen to us and you're an Apple user, Spotify doesn't allow you to write reviews, which is a bummer. But if you're an Apple user and you're listening to us, or if you're on another platform where you can write a review, please write a review. We really do read them and we love them. So I have one from Owly Cat. It's 5 stars and says The Tops. This is one of those podcasts that makes me feel like my best friend is in the room with me. Good time always. These gals get me through my commute. I'd really like to hear Laura go deeper into Billy Ray Valentine's character from Trading Places. But I watched it and now I can't stop quoting it. Thank you, ladies, for your wit and insight. Thank you, Owly Cat. That's an excellent review. In my closing, I am now quoting Billy Ray Valentine. We can make it, baby. Me and you.
Me and you. Yes, and look for a future episode where we're just going to talk about Billy Ray Valentine the whole time.
I could do it for 2 hours if you let me.
Yeah, when I was doing this podcast with Jackie, she was like, and then when you get done of stuff to talk about on Hitchhiker's Guide, we can move to something else. I'm like, I will never run out of stuff.
There's no running out. We can make it, baby. Me and you.
Me and you. Bye. Bye.